Welcome to the Flower Kingdom, a land where rivers sing, flowers glow at night, and magic flows through every leaf and root. At the heart of this vibrant world stood the eternal tree, the source of life, light, and water. For as long as anyone could remember, its shimmering presence meant prosperity. As long as it glowed, the kingdom thrived. But one morning, something was wrong. The familiar glow had weakened. The river, once a roaring voice of the kingdom, was now just a whisper. Petals, usually clinging to their stems for weeks, fell to the ground far too soon. A shadow crept over the kingdom as the eternal tree, its mighty branches drooping, began to fade. "This cannot be happening," whispered Queen Callan, her eyes fixed on the dry, cracked riverbed. Beside her stood her daughter, Princess Leela. She was strong, with a fierce curiosity that often got her into trouble. She was stubborn, but in the best way possible, the kind of stubbornness that refuses to accept defeat. One of the kingdom's elders spoke, his voice heavy with sorrow. "Even the grandest light can fade," another replied, his words laced with panic. "But if the tree falls, the kingdom falls with it." The air grew thick with fear and uncertainty. Leela clenched her fists, her knuckles white. "We've waited long enough," she declared, her voice ringing with frustration. "Talking won't save us." The elders hesitated, their faces etched with worry. The danger they faced was ancient, and the path to a solution was unknown, lost to time. Finally, the oldest elder stepped forward, his gaze distant. "There is a legend," he said slowly, "a forgotten way, a source of power older than the eternal tree itself." A murmur went through the small crowd. No one who had ever gone searching for this source had returned. It was a journey of no return. Leela didn't hesitate for a second. "I'll go." Her mother, Queen Callan, stepped in front of her, her expression a mixture of pride and terror. "You may not come back, Leela." Leela's gaze moved from the dying tree to the worried faces of her people. She saw the children, whose laughter had grown quiet. She saw the fear in everyone's eyes. "If I don't go," she said, her voice firm and clear, "none of us will." That very night, under the cloak of darkness, Leela slipped beyond the kingdom walls. With only the pale moonlight and her own unwavering courage to guide her, she ventured into the enchanted forest. The forest was breathtakingly beautiful at first. Mushrooms cast an ethereal glow on the path, and the winds whispered ancient secrets through the leaves. But this beauty was deceptive. Soon, the magic of the forest turned against her. Paths that seemed clear a moment ago would shift and twist, leading her in circles. Shadows danced at the edge of her vision, moving when she wasn't looking. "Hello?" Leela called out, her voice swallowed by the immense silence. There was no answer. Deeper and deeper she journeyed, pushing past her fear. It was then she stumbled upon a hidden chamber, completely buried under a thick curtain of ancient vines. With her heart pounding, she pulled the vines away, revealing a stone entrance. Inside, resting on a pedestal, was an object wrapped in a soft, pulsating light. It was the scroll of ages. Her hands trembled as she carefully unrolled the delicate parchment. The ancient text glowed, and the words seemed to whisper directly to her mind. "The crystal heart," she whispered aloud, the name feeling sacred on her tongue. "A power that restores balance." Hidden beyond the Whisper Wind Mountains, past the crystal caves, the scroll also showed a map, but the path was marked with symbols of death and despair. It was a path few would dare to tread. Leela swallowed the lump of fear in her throat. This is it. Her journey grew even more perilous. She crossed treacherous cliffs where the wind screamed louder than thunder, threatening to rip her from the rock face. She climbed towering mountains, the sharp stone cutting into her hands until they bled. Her muscles ached, her lungs burned, and her strength began to fail. At one point, utterly exhausted, she collapsed onto the cold ground. I can't keep going," she breathed, tears of frustration freezing on her cheeks. But then, an image flashed in her mind, the fading eternal tree. The faces of the children, their eyes full of hope. Her kingdom, on the brink of vanishing forever. The memory was like a jolt of energy. She pushed herself up, her body screaming in protest, but her spirit refused to break. Finally, she reached the crystal caves. Inside, the glowing walls reflected not just the torchlight, but her own deepest fears and doubts. But they also reflected her unwavering determination. She pushed forward, deeper into the earth, until she reached the very heart of the caves. And there it was, in the deepest, darkest chamber, bound by thick, dark vines that seemed to drink the light. She found it, the crystal heart. It was alive, pulsing with a weak, desperate beat, trapped and suffocating. "No, not like this," Leela cried out, a surge of protective anger rising within her. She lunged forward, pulling and tearing at the tough, binding roots. As she fought, the cave began to tremble and shake. Rocks and dust rained down from the ceiling. It was going to collapse. Closing her eyes, Leela whispered a desperate plea to the ancient magic of the world. "Guiding stars, hear my plea." She gathered every last bit of her strength, her hope, her love for her kingdom, and poured it into one final, mighty pull. With a sound like shattering glass, the dark vines exploded. The crystal heart, now free, burst into a magnificent, radiant light that filled the entire cavern. At the same moment, the sound of thundering water echoed from deep within the earth. Hidden channels, long dormant, were awakening. The ground shook violently, not with destruction, but with the raw power of rebirth. Leela scrambled out of the collapsing cave just in time, as a mighty river of pure, life-giving water roared back to life behind her, carving a new path through the mountains. When she finally returned home, weary and battered but victorious, the impossible had happened. The eternal tree was not just alive, it was blooming brighter than anyone had ever seen, its leaves 1,000 shades of green, its flowers bursting with vibrant color. The river surged with powerful, clear water, and flowers bloomed in an instant across the land, painting the kingdom in a riot of color. "She's back," the people cried, their voices filled with joyous disbelief. "Leela has returned." Queen Callan ran to her daughter, holding her close, her tears shining like gemstones in the new light. "You saved us," Leela, leaning into her mother's embrace, shook her head gently. "We did this together." The crystal heart was placed with honor beside the eternal tree. It was not a source of power to be used, but a sacred artifact to be protected, a reminder of the delicate balance of their world. Later, Leela stood beneath the great tree, which now had a new name, the Eternal Rainbow Tree, a living symbol of balance and unity. She looked out over her kingdom, now greener, brighter, and more alive than ever before. A quiet smile touched her lips. "This," she said to herself, "is where my true journey begins, not just as a princess who followed orders, but as a leader who forged her own path." And the flower kingdom shone on, a brilliant beacon of hope for all the generations to come. Thanks so much for watching this story unfold. If you enjoyed Leela's adventure, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from magical worlds. See you next time.